That is Pitson and Karura Voices. Pale nyuma tu. Manasimanga BVGs. Wako pale. But ni Pitson pale kwa screen na nini. Maneno ya uzima alionena Yesu. Neno la uzima, maneno ya uzima.
Nawaambia waingie ndani.
Njoo.
Msikie maneno ya uzima.
Ndio hivyo.
Beautiful song.
That was the musical break. And taking us now to time to get to see what's happening in as far as the newspaper is concerned, what's being reported in the papers.
Absolutely. And I see here hapa kwenye Daily Nation, the very first top story is counties face cash crisis as MPs clash. Okay. Disputes. Counties are staring at a major crunch should Parliament fail to agree soon on the amount of money to be allocated to the devolved units. This follows the deadlock between the National Assembly and the Senate over the division of the revenue bill. And that is 2024, with the impasse now headed for mediation after MPs rejected a proposal to increase funding. This is a story on page 7. And just to the details of that, I see that 405 billion shillings, while the National Assembly had allocated counties 391.1 billion. Senators amended the bill and raised the allocation by 24.8 billion to 415.9 billion, sparking row. Look at that story. That is on page 9. It's on devolution. Page 7. On devolution, senators saying governors have new financial obligations, including doctors' CBA. And just yesterday, talking about doctors, I actually saw some striking hapo tu GPO hapo. I saw some shouting. I saw they were wearing their uniform, you know, the blue. Are they doctors?
Nurses.
I think, yes, it was nurses actually. It was actually nurses. And that was happening, causing a lot of traffic jam around GPO. And moving on, I see here that price stabilization lowers cost of petrol. We were really waiting to see what's going to happen. But I see the government yesterday reintroduced price stabilization on super petrol, helping to lower prices by 1 shilling. The reintroduction of subsidy lowered super petrol prices per litre in Nairobi. That is to 192.84 from 193.84 previously. Diesel, whose prices have not been subsidized, though, dropped from 179 from 180.38 in the review that takes effect today until June 14th. Without the subsidy, the price of petrol would have jumped by 2.27 per litre. So this is definitely a good thing to be celebrated, because, you know, even as the things are going the way they are going, God is still fighting for us, and we won't even understand. But we will continue to see the goodness of God. So let's give thanks. I mean, this is a good thing. But I see here also on the back page, youth fund put on deathbed with nil budget allocation. Also, the fund was created by former President Mwai Kibaki's government. And I see here one amount in Kenyan shillings. The youth fund advanced to youth-led enterprises in financial year ended June 2023 against a target of 500 million shillings is 143 million shillings. That's on the back page. And coming to page 2 of the Daily Nation, I see here validity of verbal divorce tested as a woman moves to Kadhi Court. That is on page 2. And look at page 3, I see Belgian investor accused of profiteering of children. So officials of Kabene Children's Home in Kwale tell court foreigner uses photos to lure donors. Oh my, this is really, really bad. And I see here it is without doubt that Tabasamu, registered in Belgium, is disguised as a charitable organization to solicit funds. I mean, we need to even pray about sometimes when we are helping these organizations, because apparently there's one that actually faked and even using pictures of children to solicit funds. That's a story on page 3, and it's called Tabasamu, which is registered in Belgium. Very, very unfortunate. Page 4 here, I see behind the scenes intrigues to derail Linturi's ouster bid. Majority side used their superior numbers to dictate the outcome and save the CS job. I see here Minority Whip Junet Mohammed saying, I saw the faces of the members of the select committee. I knew nothing was going to come out of the hearings. That is the story story on page 4. And page 5, I see here, DP Gachagua Kuria clash over one man, 1 shilling formula. We look at that story yesterday. I see Outspoken CS says top Mount Kenya leaders can implement it in a flash. And moving on some international news, I see here Africa needs billions for climate-friendly stoves. I see Paris Summit looks to raise $4 billion in annual pledges for green cooking projects across Africa. And of course, I see here still on the international news, Trump signed off on hush money payment to ex-fixer, says here Republican President candidate has been defined ever being involved with an adult film actress, Stormy Daniels. That's a story that had been trending on the international res, and you can look at that story on page 25. And going to the sports page, I see here Hungry Leopards stalk police in Dandora. Law enforcers aim to keep their unbeaten run in league this year intact today against a tricky Ingwe side eager to win. And moving on, I see on page 34, fresh London Marathon champ Jeb Chirchir back in the grind. This is the April award winner and reigning Olympic champion who resumed training on Monday with an eye on this year's Paris Games. And 3.5 million is the money official sponsors LG Electronics East Africa have set aside for this Jack Sports Personality of the Month award for this year. That's a story on page 34.
All right. Heading now to the Standard. And what is being reported inside the Standard. First of all, we look at the front page of the Standard and the headline they are going with, Ruto gets a dose of Uhuru's bitter pill.
Yeah.
Now, what goes around? What do they say? What goes around?
Comes around.
Right. So they're saying at the height of his second term, a frustrated President Kenyatta publicly complained of how his deputy was forever campaigning and neglecting his DP role. During this year's Labor Day, it was President Ruto's turn to take a swipe at leaders he said were always seeking popularity instead of serving Kenyans.
Oh my.
So this is what the president had to say, Ruto. I find a lot of leaders spending so much time trying to be popular. When will you have time to work for the people if all the time your focus and energy is on how to continue being popular? That was the president posing that question. Now, we have a quote here attributed to former President Kenyatta. Instead of helping me address the challenges, you are all over in marketplaces, inciting people, and then you call yourself a big leader. You must have ambition, but ambition must be controlled.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're saying Ruto is getting a dose of Uhuru's bitter pill.
Oh my.
Right, get that story on page 4 inside the Standard.
And just on that before we proceed, I remember that statement being said on, was it Labor Day?
Labor Day, yes.
When that was mentioned, and when we were having a conversation, you were like, when Ruto was there.
He was there. I remember we highlighted the same.
We did.
Yeah, because we have been in this country for a while. So, and we are good, what do they say? We are good students of history.
Yes,
yeah, so,
very good students of history.
We are good students of history. All right. Still on the front page, raid on bread. Are you a bread fan? So, raid on bread.
Nowadays, no.
Yeah. So, Kenyans paying at increasing taxes. So, taxation proposals for the 2024 budget spark outrage, with Kenyans saying Treasury's bid to raise more taxes will only serve to push essential items out of reach. And it's a story on page 5. And actually, I think, at times Kenyans, I love it at times we want to, get to know what's happening. And it's important to read the proposals in the finance bill. Forget the 2023 that brought so many taxes. Now we have the finance bill of 2024, which is equally proposing some huge taxes. And the Treasury demand for more taxes will hurt Kenyans. That is according to analysts who are warning. Analysts say that Treasury should have considered outcomes of Finance Act of 2023. They warn that Kenyans will be left with less disposable income after tax hikes. And there is a new levy that is being proposed, 2.5%. The Finance Bill 2024 proposing the introduction of a motor vehicle tax with a rate of 2.5% of the vehicle's value. Yeah. So you can read that on page 5. Get to see the proposals, which new levies are being proposed by the Treasury, so that you plan. Also, there is a proposal. I don't know. I stand to be corrected, but there is a proposal for KRA to be able to access your mobile money account and also your bank account in a bid to catch tax cheats. So for them to be able, so that they are now aware how much Beatrice is able to earn. Yeah, so they are able to access your mobile money account and your bank account as well. Yeah, so those are just but proposals. It's not like they are already low. So we need to get to know those things.
Yeah, that's true.
6 bank CEOs earn 787 million shillings.
Hey.
The story you can read on page 19. Na nimeenda hapo, 6 top bank CEOs take home over 787 million annual pay. Leaders have made their 2023 disclosures ahead of the annual general meetings later this year. Chief executives in the industry enjoy lucrative benefits on top of their sizable salaries. So the bosses of Kenya's Tier 1 lenders, Equity, KCB, NCBA, Diamond Trust Bank, Standard Chartered Kenya, and APSA smiled to their banks on the back of attractive compensation packages.
Well,
right.
Okay.
Exit doctors. I want you to see now the flip side. So those are the 6 bank CEOs who are earning 787. Exit doctors, nurses now demand 3 billion. Yeah, so they want an increment. So nurses demand 3 billion shillings in fresh employment push. So 2,500 nurses were hired on 3-year contracts. The contracts lapsed in 2023 but were extended for 1 year. It was noted with concern that the exit of the crucial mass would adversely affect access to medical care and thus need for structured consultations. You can read that. And yes, the people you saw yesterday were clinical officers who protested yesterday following issues outlined in a collective bargaining agreement.
Oh,
right. Then with calm and candor, Michael Cohen touches Trump in court. So you can read that in the World News as well. The back page of the Standard is the sports pages. 18 years on, Germany hopes to relive World Cup fairy tale. Germany is preparing to host Euro 2024, which kicks off next month as league action ends this month. 2006 World Cup is remembered as the moment a unified Germany shook off the shadows of its dark past and showed the world a new modern face. Read that as we wait now for the Euros to kick off on the 14th of June. Durand double salvages draw for Aston Villa. So they drew 3-3 with Liverpool. And it means actually now that following last night's match, ya ndovu. Unajua walikuwa wanasema ndovu iko juu ya huko juu.
Lonely.
Ndovu imeanguka, imechimba shimo. Inajaribu kuvutwa, haivutiki.
Haivutiki sasa.
Inaitwa jeni hii tu inaonekana nusu. Imechimba shimo, imeanguka.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so Arsenal were actually beaten last night 2-0 by Man City.
Oh my.
So the title will go down to the wire, the last match of the weekend. Now Man City are tops, Arsenal second, Liverpool third, Villa fourth, and that is how it will end. So for Arsenal to win the league, they have to beat Everton and hope City loses to West Ham. That's why nakwambia ndovu amechapa chini, amechimba shimo, vile ameanguka. The impact, it's the impact. Business Daily, blacklisted loan accounts jump 97% on costly credit. So 7.65 million of 29.72 million loan accounts in default by December. Non-performing loans hit 16-year high in February. And I also see reintroduction of stabilization cuts petrol prices by 1 shilling. The state yesterday tapped into the fuel stabilization fund for the first time since October last year to stop an increase of pump prices by up to 2 shillings and 27 cents per litre. M-Pesa deposits fall 10 billion shillings in 6 months. So Safaricom customer deposits in mobile money wallet M-Pesa fell by 10.6 billion shillings to 263.3 billion in 6 months ended March 2024, signaling more withdrawals to cash and other platforms, including banks, in the review period. And also I see state signals end of youth fund with zero budget allocation. The government has signaled the end of the Kibaki era Youth Enterprise Development Fund following a zero budget allocation in the new fiscal year starting in July. You can read that inside the Business Daily as well.
All right, beautiful. So we've come to the end of the newspaper review. Grab a copy of your favorite. Let's continue praying for our nation, Kenya. The prayers indeed do work. I believe there are people who have been interceding even with the, what was the name? Is it cyclone or whatever that was to happen in Mombasa? Yes. So like we have people who are actually praying. This are
Haidara.
Haidara. We will check that and confirm it's Haidara. But yes, so let's continue praying for our nation, because as Kenya prospers, you and I are also going to prosper.
Yes.
But of course, you can tune into Hope FM, be able to get to be on the know at the top of every hour. Right here on Hope TV, we have Dira and also News Watch at 9 p.m. So we take a short break just to have a look at the video of the day. We'll come back, talk about it.